Good afternoon. It's Wednesday, March 8th. You should have in front of you voting list number 11. We have 4 bills on the list, and it looks like Patrick is ready to get us started.
So Senate Bill 550, this is the Access to Banking Act, an administration bill that establishes initiatives to expand access to capital for businesses and individuals located in low to moderate income communities. To promote access to physical branches of depository institutions, the bill changes the assessment system for depository institutions to provide an assessment credit for bank and credit union branches located in these LMI areas. Under current law, the Office of the Commissioner of Financial Regulation assesses each banking institution and credit union a fee to cover the expense of regulating their respective industries. The special fund for this has a surplus, and the bill would allow a portion of this surplus for assessment credits to incentivize the establishment of new and the retention of existing branches. The bill also authorizes the Office of the Commissioner of Financial Regulation to use funds from the special fund to seed the Maryland Community Investment Venture Fund, a private fund established under the bill that will receive both public and private investment funds to develop opportunities for banking institutions and credit unions to better serve businesses in these LMI communities. The venture fund will invest in financial technology companies to develop products and services to enhance access to capital, funding, and other financial services for businesses in these communities, such as data points that may be utilized to successfully underwrite small business credit. Once these products or services are developed, the venture fund may then be used to make them available to banks and credit unions to expand underwriting capabilities and lending to businesses in these areas. The Commissioner of Financial Regulation may provide an initial equity capital investment in the venture fund of up to $2.5 million, and through June 2028, match any investment made by a banking institution or credit union up to the amount of the assessment credit earned by the bank or credit union under the bill. The chair has an amendment that's reflected on the reprint, and there was in the bill an exemption from state procurement law for the services that would be procured in relation to the establishment of this fund. And what the amendment would do would strike that exemption based on some of the discussion that took place at the bill hearing. And it's my understanding that the governor's office is fine with the change. There's also a technical correction, and then the chair is requested to be added as a sponsor to the bill.
Okay, so we've just had presented Senate Bill 550. Are there any questions? Senator Mounts.
Just a quick question. Could you go in and explain that assessment again? We talked about the assessment. What is the assessment? Where does it come from? Where does it go?
So there's an assessment that currently is in place on banks, depository institutions, banks and credit unions to fund the regulatory activities of the Office of the Commissioner of Financial Regulation. So it funds the activities that they do to provide oversight to those institutions that are under its jurisdiction. It's my understanding there's a pretty significant surplus in funds that have been collected from this assessment. And so because of this surplus, there was a recognized ability to establish this program that would enable an offset credit for some of these assessments that are paid by these state chartered banks and credit unions. And so banks and credit unions that would invest in these lower income areas would be able to get the offset credit for as an incentive for doing that.
Right. So these are areas that don't currently have banking services, and they don't have banking services because the there's not an economical feasibility for that, right? And so, and so, and it's statewide, it's not just in certain areas, but, and then so the funds would be used as an offset. So the financial institutions that would then do banking services in the areas determined to be underserved would not have to pay the assessment. Is that how that works? Am I missing something?
Yeah, that's right. So I mean, I think that they would not have to pay as much in the assessment for the actions that they would take in investing in these areas and having new branches or maintaining existing branches.
And how long does this last?
So the program, as I understand it, would be a 5-year program.
And then what was the cost?
So I think that the overall cost, and maybe the governor's, the representative from the governor's office can verify this, but I think it was in the range of $3 to $5 million.
That's right. Over 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions on Senate Bill 550? I'll entertain a motion. Have a motion and a second for favorable with amendments along with a sponsor request. Are there any others that had wanted to be added in the sponsor amendment? Yes, you're already on there. You're already on there.
Yeah.
You're not.
Oh.
You want on?
Yeah.
If you want to be added, raise your hand. For the underserved bank desert communities. Okay, so you got those?
I do.
Okay, so the motion and the second is on the favorable with the amended amendment. Are there any questions? All those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, those in opposition, raise your hand. That bill receives a favorable report. Next bill.
Senate Bill 607 is a alcoholic beverages bill, a local bill for Baltimore City. The bill alters provisions of the alcoholic beverages laws in Baltimore City specific.
Everybody come here and hear the bill we're voting. Okay, go ahead.
It's specifically related to the 46th Alcoholic Beverages District. The bill allows a liquor license for a certain restaurant owned by a nonprofit to be extended to a new location. It also allows a liquor license for a restaurant at a certain location if it has a duck pin bowling alley and meets a minimum capital investment requirement. The license is exempt from certain minimum seating and food sales requirements and is non-transferable. In addition, the bill establishes a process by which a Class D beer and light wine license holders may convert that license to a Class D beer, wine, and liquor license if specific requirements are met, such as maintaining a minimum 51% daily average of receipts from food sales and executing an MOU with the local neighborhood association. The bill also eases license transfer requirements in Ward 3, Precinct 3 by allowing a transfer to an establishment with a seating capacity of up to 200 individuals, and it extends the expiration date of a license in a certain location so it can be transferred to a new owner. No amendments.
This is an excellent bill.
Okay, so first, are there any questions on the bill? Okay, entertaining a motion. I had a motion and a second for a favorable on Senate Bill 607. Are there any questions? All those in favor of the bill, raise your hand. That bill receives a unanimous favorable report. And we'll now go to Senate Bill 494.
Senate Bill 494 requires the Secretary of DBM to assign certain employees of the Maryland State Department of Education to the executive, management, professional, or skilled services of the state personnel management system, and to assign the relevant employees to certain bargaining units in which their particular job. Okay, their particular job would, coincide with that bargaining unit. Several years ago, legislation was enacted that moved employees of the Maryland State Department of Education into the state personnel management system. They were there for certain reasons, but officially MSD had its own personnel system. It was old, archaic. So the General Assembly decided it was time to update this and move these employees into the state personnel management system like other state employees of similar type. A few of these employees were not, however, migrated into the state personnel management system. According to the fiscal note, there's approximately 80 employees out there. So this bill would complete the process for those 80 employees and move them all the employees within MSD into the state personnel management system.
Okay. Are there any questions on Senate Bill 494?
Second.
Have a motion and a second for a favorable on Senate Bill 494. Seeing no questions. All those in favor, raise your hand. That bill receives a unanimous favorable report.
Okay.
You can go to the next
You
bill.
want me to describe
You
it?
can,
or-
yes,
Okay.
Madam Chair,
yes,
are we on Senate Bill 838?
Yes,
we are,
Can I ask a question?
yes.
Will we be voting tomorrow
On this bill?
on a voting
Oh,
session?
a voting session, very probably.
Would it be possible to hold this bill until tomorrow's voting
We're
session?
gonna probably have to hold it till Friday.
Okay, can we
Okay.
hold it till Friday?
Sure. Can we go ahead and have him explain it just?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Very good.
Okay, and any amendments or not?
Yes.
Okay, so you have Senate Bill 838 in front of you, and there's a reprint. And also with amendments suggested by the chair. As introduced, the bill would make changes to the workplace fraud law, which is the law that governs misclassification of employees in the construction and landscaping industries, as well as changes to the prevailing wage law. It adds criminal penalties to both of these laws, and also if a violation is found, violation of knowingly misclassifying an employee or a violation of prevailing wage law, it would require the Commissioner of Labor and Industry to refer these cases to the comptroller for investigation under the income tax withholding law or willful violations of not providing proper information to the comptroller. You have a reprint in front of you with an amendment offered by the chair that strikes the criminal penalties from both laws, but keeps the requirement that any willful violations under the workplace fraud law or violations of the prevailing wage law still may be referred to the comptroller by the commissioner for investigation under those two laws I just mentioned, which would be violations of income tax withholding and willfully not providing the comptroller with appropriate information.
Okay, Senator Hershey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick clarification. So everything that we see struck from the first part of the bill is just because that's not in the bill anymore.
Yeah, you're
correct?
striking the criminal penalty part of the bill.
Well, we're striking, we're not striking
You're not striking the.
3909. We're not striking that from the law. We're just taking it
Yes,
out of
yes,
this
yes,
bill,
yeah, that
right?
people get, yeah,
Right.
you're not striking it from the law, you're striking it out of the bill.
Out of
and
the bill,
And,
okay.
and the function paragraph
Right.
is the thing that makes sure that that's what you're
I
trying to
thought.
do.
Okay, and then 3910, that has to do with the misclassification,
Willful misclassification.
willful misclassification. That has its normal penalties, but now it will just have it will in addition be the referral to the comptroller's
Yes.
office. And then 17227 on the state finance and procurement article, that's prevailing wage.
That's
correct?
prevailing wage and there are no criminal
We're
penalties.
taking the criminal penalties out and it'll just be a referral to the
Yes.
comptroller's office as well. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks. Senator Beidle, did you unask? Or are you still? Okay, you can go. We'll go Senator Beidle, then Senator Guile, then Senator Mounts.
So I had SB 1 last year with the stop work orders and it was about misclassification. So this just adds more penalty than stop work.
It's an additional, well, with the chair's amendment, the criminal penalty is gone. So yours was regarding prevailing wage jobs. And all this does is if there's a violation of the prevailing wage law, the commissioner would have to refer that to the comptroller for a separate investigation under. The idea is if they're not paying their employees, then they're not withholding. And the comptroller can initiate an investigation under that.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I guess to follow up on that, so then what can the comptroller ultimately do? I mean, I see that there's criminal penalties that are removed, then if there's an investigation by the comptroller, what kind of? So I guess it would be a violation of the tax code. Is that what I understand it to
It would be a violation of the tax code. A person who is required to file an income tax withholding return and who willfully fails to file that return as required under Title 10 is guilty of a misdemeanor and on conviction subject to a fine exceeding $10,000. There's a series of penalties involved with that if they willfully withhold tax information from there or withholding, which means they're not paying the employee. So that's an indirect way of saying the employee's not getting paid, so they're not getting a W-2.
Okay, so there's still potential penalties in place.
Oh,
It
there's
seems-
still, yeah, there are penalties in
Yeah.
place if the comptroller determines that they did withheld tax withholding. Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks, David.
And on the last page, the determination to make the referral. To make the referral is the clear and convincing standard,
Yes.
and a higher standard would be beyond a reasonable doubt, correct?
I'm not sure of my standards. That's usually used in criminal, but yes, I would think beyond a reasonable doubt, but we don't you rarely see that in this type of usually it's willfully or willfully is about as high as you go in the labor sector.
So, but anytime you get a civil, anytime someone would be found liable civilly, you would pretty much assume that would meet the clear and convincing for the agency because they've rendered liability. It's almost like an automatic that there will be a referral. And would it be an automatic if there's a finding of a civil violation for a referral?
I would think that would be the intent here. Yes.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't see any other questions. We have a request to hold, so we will not move forward today on Senate Bill 838. We're going to go, that's going to conclude our voting session, but stay put if you would.